today we thought we would kind of talk about again another relatable issue. I'm sure for many of our
Mm,
listeners and things, and just
mm,
this time around, kind of body image, something that I know we both struggle and have struggled with. I know I've struggled with it
mm.
since school and puberty and everything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought we'd kind of just share a little bit about our individual kind of struggles with that and how we both support each other, as besties really. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and I think this is a hard one, I think, for
Mm.
us, for both of us, because we both have issues on both sides with this.
Yes.
And uh, yeah, it's a tough one because we go through days and we're like, oh, I don't feel great, I don't feel
Mm.
good. And I don't think that's ever changed. Again, this is
No.
another thing that's kind of like united us and bonded us in a way,
Mm.
because we have continuously throughout, since knowing each other, but throughout our lives, um, had these issues with body image. And I think
Yes.
we grew up in the era there wasn't social media, actually, to be honest.
Yes. Yes.
But now we've
Yeah.
fallen into social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've
Now it's that
actually
extra pressure. It's yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it's that
Yeah.
extra pressure, but we didn't grow up with social media, so
No.
it's funny how it just catches up with you.
Mm.
And actually probably goes wider than social media.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's just about body image. And I mean, to kick it off for myself, I mean, I've struggled with body image issues for the longest. The
Mm.
longest. I could go on and on and on and on about it, but I think my earliest memory, if I could think back,
Mm.
um, is probably when I was maybe 9, 10. I think that's when I
Mm.
realized I was like, okay, you're different. And I remember, like, girls are blossoming and,
Mm.
they're, as you do at that age, you start to kind of, you're a preteen, starting to develop and stuff, and I didn't,
Mm.
and that's when people then started talking about, oh, you're very skinny, and I'm sure you don't
Mhm.
eat, and I'm sure, your parents don't feed you, or even if they give you something to eat, you're barely eating any of it. Do you survive on air or water, And I was there thinking, what
Mm.
are they talking about? And I mean, it's a key time anyway, because I think all
Yeah.
throughout, like, the ages of 1, 2, 3, 4, that's never an issue. It's maybe something your parents might think, oh, she's a little bit chubby, she's a little bit
Mhm.
skinny, but
Mm.
you yourself, you're just happy being that
Yeah.
little girl, you
Yeah.
don't really realize until you get to that pivotal stage. And I was a late bloomer,
Mm.
bloom late. So until you get to that stage where, the other girls are starting to have probably insecurities about themselves.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
start to get insecurities about themselves because now they're developing and they see you there still, flat chested,
Mhm.
have got nothing on you. And then they start picking on you just because of that, because you're different at
Mm.
that time. But that never stopped.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can definitely. I mean, my issues actually are the opposite. So for me,
Mm,
I was an early developer. I bloomed very, very
mm,
early. Again,
mm,
around that sort of 9, 10 sort of age,
mm,
when it happened for me. And the earliest memory was actually quite a difficult memory, but I can still remember it because it really was
It's
quite a
funny how
pivotal
you
moment.
can just see it. Like, even when you
Yes,
close your eyes, you can
yes,
still picture this moment. Like
yes.
when someone says something to you.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And
Mm,
and for me, I remember like it was yesterday. I believe I was 10 in year 5 or year 6, just about
mm,
to go into year 6. So my last year of
mm,
primary school for those
mm,
um, listeners from around the world. And I remember I was developing pretty fast. Again,
mm,
hereditary runs in the family. Um,
mm,
and my mum could tell that I was starting to get a little bit insecure. And it was a swimming
mm,
class I used to go to with the school. Most
You
schools kind of
told me this.
have
Yes,
swimming. Yes,
yeah,
you know the story.
yeah.
And so my mum wanted to kind of, like any mum, any parent wants you to kind of feel confident in yourself and your body and body confident.
Mm,
So she
mm,
went out and bought me a very expensive, Speedo swimming costume, really nice, kind of professional kind of type one that would,
Yeah.
hold me in accordingly and
Hold
everything.
everything in.
Hold everything in, and there was a lot
That's
to hold
right.
in at that point in my life, I tell you. And I remember it gave me an extra
Mm,
spring in my step, and I was really happy to wear it. And I
mm,
remember walking out of the changing room and walking along the pool, along the pool side to sit down. And I remember a
mm.
couple of the boys were like kind of giggling and giggling amongst themselves, but it actually wasn't the boys that was the issue, because the boys you just kind of
It's
like
the
give
girls.
them a look. It was the girls.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the pool. I did my swimming class as normal, and this was a really pivotal moment, and I can still remember it. It's still seared in my brain, for the longest
Mm,
amount of time. And I don't think I'll ever shake it off. But my
mm,
favorite teacher at the time, and she really was my favorite teacher,
mm,
um, she actually pulled me out of the pool. So I came out of the pool, and she was just pulled me to one side, and she said to me, she said, "Oh, hi, Elle. I just wanted to see if you don't feel comfortable getting changed in the main changing room. There is another changing room that you can get changed in." And I remember just standing there, dripping wet in my swimming
Can you
costume.
imagine?
I had a spring in my step as I got out of the
That
pool.
spring is now gone.
Spring was gone, good feeling gone, basically. And here is
Mm,
my favorite teacher telling me, "Oh, if you'd like to get changed in a separate changing room." And I burst into tears, and I was like, it's not my fault that I am cursed with
mm,
being a fast developer. And just because the
mm,
girls, in my class are all wondering why I'm, developing faster than they are, or why they're kind
mm.
of looking at themselves and thinking, why is she different? And I
Yeah.
remember I went home and I sobbed to my mum, and she really had a hard,
Mm,
hard time trying to uplift
mm,
me. And
mm.
that just, for me, just seemed to be the start of a very, very kind of difficult spiral when it came to body image, because it just was
Yeah.
something that never, ever shifted. Even when I went on to secondary school, it was, different issues, because again, I was developed more so
Mm,
than a lot of my, friends and peers.
mm,
And so then comes the unwarranted attention, then comes the sleazy kind of conversations, then comes the leering and
mm,
everything else,
mm.
and things like that. And I've always been, a bigger person as well. And that's always been something that's been another kind of underlying issue as well. So you add
Mm.
those two things together, and it's just, you feel like it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, the way you described it. So I never had that attention. I
Mm,
never had people like take a second look or even a first look. It was always like I was like obsolete. I didn't exist. I just
mm,
didn't exist. I just was not a person. Um, and I think just to give context to that, I am African, obviously, and I come from an African household. I grew up in Kenya, so the norm is to be, voluptuous,
mm,
developed, having curves and everything. I didn't have that. I had zero. So I was literally overlooked. It's like I never
mm,
existed. And like you said, it's not the boys. I mean, the boys, they didn't care about me because I wasn't developed anyway.
mm,
But it's the girls, it's almost as if you're null and void. And when they're having these conversations about stuff, I was excluded because
mm,
can't relate. Because how can you relate? Like, look at you, you're nothing, basically.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and it's funny because it's like, oh, if the wind comes, it's gonna blow you away, and it's just
mm.
really stupid things that are said, and then they don't realize how you then carry them on into your
Yes,
life.
yes,
You then carry
yes.
those things on into your growth, development,
Mhm,
as you get older, when you have children, because I have two
mhm,
children. And for me, it's kind of like I have two girls. And it's
mm,
just like, how do I now navigate that whilst
mm,
having all these issues myself that are
mm,
internal that I've never been able to work through because of possibly background culture stuff, and not being able to fit in anyway. And
mm,
you were able to go to your mom and kind of say, okay, this and this happened. But for me, I couldn't,
mm,
And not because
mm,
I couldn't talk to my mum, it's just because in my culture, it was voluptuous is what was seen as being
yes.
attractive. So I
Yeah.
was like, if I say something, it's just going to blow up. So I just kept it
Mm,
in. I just
mm,
kept it in. But really and truly, when I look at my pictures, and I don't have that many, when I look at my pictures when I was younger,
mm,
I was not in a good place.
mm, mm.
You could just see that this person's just not confident with
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and body confidence, as we know, and just confidence in yourself, is
Mm,
such an important thing. And when it's missing and it's gone, and this is without social media, we're talking about the time when
yeah.
we were at school and kind of going through our growing pains, where there was no social media, so there was no
Yeah.
TikTok and YouTube and whatever else it might be. There was no social
Yeah.
media around to kind of amplify it even more, or
Yeah.
even worse, as we know what we're seeing now, having this absolute unrealistic, distorted view of what beauty is meant to
Yes.
be, what
Yes.
slim is meant to look like, what
Mm,
perfection is supposed to look like. And as we know,
mm.
a lot of it's AI, airbrushed, and goodness knows whatever else
Oh
these days.
yeah, it's been
So
contoured and cut
contoured
and
and
all
twisted,
sorts of things.
tweaked and peaked and all sorts, and it's not, what you're looking at isn't real life at all. And then you've got young
Yeah.
people, and like you say, Sage, when you've got, two girls of your own that are growing up in
Mm,
this social media world where that's the images that
mm,
they're seeing, and it's not
mm,
realistic, it's not real life.
mm.
And again, you've got to push past your own insecurities, your own worries, your own body kind of hang-ups and everything else, along the way.
Mm,
It's very, very
mm,
difficult. And I'm sure, many of our listeners can completely understand that issue
yeah.
with body image and looking in the mirror and fashion trends. That was something that I never
Mm,
could follow because where I was curvier and busty, unfortunately, some people might think that's a great thing, but I've always found it to be a curse and everything.
mm,
But when
mm,
you are more curvy and voluptuous, not all styles are going to suit you.
yeah.
You can't necessarily follow the trend because you're not necessarily going to slot in,
Mm,
or kind of look good or look all right. You can't carry off certain looks, and you
yeah.
really do have to educate yourself on shapes that work for you, colors
Yeah.
that work, kind of materials that do and don't work.
Yeah.
The days that I could only ever dream of wearing a spaghetti strap dress. Like that's an absolute kind of
Yeah, you've
pipe
told me
dream for
this.
me.
Yeah.
It's something that I would love, but could never ever see ever happening. And you
Yeah.
have to just know that that's okay.
Yeah.
But those kind of body images and the issues that you carry with yourself, through school and everything, and you really do need, because like we say, me and you had totally opposite issues. I know we often used to joke, saying, "Oh, you want more bust? Come and take some of mine," or we'd kind of like make little
Give me some of
quips.
that.
Give me some, if I could ship it off to you, I would, and things like that. And me wanting to be slimmer, and that's always been my, one of my personal kind of battles and things. And it's like, oh, can't we just switch places? Can't we just take, a bit of
And the
what you
thing
have and
is,
a bit
I
of
think
yours?
that grew as we grew up. I think
Mm,
at some point, I think we kind of became a little bit more open about those struggles. And
yes.
then it was like at some point we were like, okay, like I understand where you are and I understand
Mm,
and you understand where I am,
mm,
even though we're literally on two different sides
polar
of
opposite.
the
Yeah.
body situation, image, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm,
We support each other because we
mm,
understand, we get each other through those struggles because we're
mm,
both struggling because of something that we can and cannot control.
mm, mm,
Some of the things we can't control and some things we can control. But
mm,
and I think for me, what I totally hate, and I'm really gonna say this, and I'm sorry to anyone who knows me and is gonna watch this and be offended. I hate it when I despise it. When people are like, "Oh, you're so skinny and you're
mm,
so slim. How do you do that?" And I'm like, I literally go to sleep and I wake up and I've lost weight. That's not
mm,
nice. Like, it doesn't feel good for me. But people think that it's a compliment. They
mm,
think
mm,
that they're doing me
mm,
something like a service or whatever it is when they
mm,
start, talking about being skinny and, oh, that's amazing. And in my head, I'm like, I really don't want to be like this.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah.
And
And I
believe you
yeah.
me, I
Mhm.
don't want to be like this. And I try my best not to be like this. But this is the body that God gave me, and I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear you, Sage, and for me, it's like I said, the kind of polar opposite where I get,
Mm.
and again, it's one of those things where people, friends, family, random strangers, all sorts. I've had it from everybody.
Mm.
Oh, you big bust. Oh, yeah, people would pay good money to have big boobs and this, and I'm sure they would, but not the size that
Mm.
mine are. They wouldn't necessarily
Mm.
be, they wouldn't want the downsides that come with having naturally a bigger bust or anything. It's not pretty. It's not fabulous. You don't feel
Mm.
fabulous, and I've said this to
Mm.
you before, as you know, Sage. To me, it feels
Mm.
like a deformity rather than something to be kind
Mm.
of glamming up. And even
Yeah.
things like pictures, I'll make sure that I'm suitably dressed, that there's no way that they're, as much as I can control, that it's not
Mm.
too visible.
Mm.
Going out used to be an absolute nightmare because it was just like, okay, I could either have a nice top or nice bottoms, but you can't really kind of have both and show too much off. And
Mm.
then obviously that's without the kind of comments and the kind of seediness that can come with it as well.
Mm.
So it is such a difficult thing to try and navigate. Um,
Yeah.
and you cannot do it on your own. You cannot try and navigate those body hang-ups on your own when you're looking in
No.
the mirror and you're struggling. You just can't. You need to be able to offload to somebody or speak to somebody. And like
Mm.
you say, Sage, when it's not seen as the norm and you can't necessarily go
Mm.
to parents or family, you need to be able to speak to
Mm.
your friends about it. You need your friends and people to understand. Like I used to have,
Yeah.
I know there's probably a couple of listeners that can relate, and other friends that I have that will know that I used to sometimes have a rule where I say, okay, no photos, please. Like, just please, when we go out
Mm.
tonight,
And they need
everyone's
to respect
happy,
that.
but
Yeah.
please don't take any photos. And if you do, please do not upload anything on social media.
Mm.
Like, I know that
Mm.
I'm not feeling comfortable in myself,
Mm.
and it's taken all
Mm.
my effort and energy to come out to this bar or to the club or wherever it might have been.
Mm.
So
Mm.
please just don't take photos. And
Mm.
to my, to the positivity of it all, my friends always listened,
Good.
and
Yeah.
respected that. But it can be so hard if you don't have that support.
Yeah. And same, like literally,
Mm,
we're just sharing the same stories, but from
mm,
different sides of the spectrum. So for
mm,
me, I had to find a way to dress, to kind of, and also the seasons help. So wintertime, you're in a coat, so it's all good.
mm.
You're hiding and everything. But when it comes to spring, summertime,
Yeah.
you almost have to find the things. And I think I kind of play up to that. I make it look like I'm confident with what I'm wearing, but really I'm
Mhm,
struggling on the inside.
mm,
Really, I am like, oh my God, like I don't look good. I don't feel good. And like you say, you make that effort to, go out with your friends, and it takes me forever to pick something. I'm like, oh my
mhm,
God, I'll just chuck on the same jeans again. And you leave, but in your head, you're just like, oh my God, like
mm.
I don't feel good.
Yeah,
I just don't
yeah.
feel good. Um, but I'm gonna fake it, and you get there and it's all smiles and everything. But
Mhm,
really, you are really struggling. And then like you said, they take pictures of you, and then you look at it and you're like, that's not me, you
mm,
know? That's not me. Like it cannot
mm.
be me, and it is you.
Yeah,
That you're looking at yourself, but
yeah,
you're like, no, that's
yeah.
not me. And
Mm.
the funny thing is, we're approaching our. Should we say our ages? Oh my God, I don't know if we're
If anybody asks, we're 21, but clearly we're not.
21. You know, um, and as graceful as we're aging,
Mm,
there's still that rolling on of body image issues
yeah,
that I will never be able to shake off.
no.
I think now I've learned how to mask it. Masking is a word I've learned. I mask a
Mm,
lot of stuff. So masking and finding clothes that kind of give you that, not the confidence, because if you don't have it, then it's not
yeah,
there, but kind of finding those outfits that will give you some sort of comfortability. I suppose
Yeah,
that's the word.
yeah, no,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, but to be honest, I don't think I've worked through, and I don't even know when I'll be able to work through these things because I don't know
Mm.
where to start.
Mm. And that's the thing when it's a build up, as again, I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to. Once it's been a build up since childhood, it's not as simple as, okay, we just buy a nice outfit or we just buy our
Yeah,
favorite color outfit. We wish it
yeah,
was that simple. It really isn't. It's much more than what you wear or how you wear it. It's trying to
mm,
kind of fill a gap that's been, left open, and insecurities and kind of worries and body image concerns that have been there for most of our lives at the end
years.
of the day. And
Yeah,
it can be
yeah,
really, really, really difficult. I mean, all how the function that Facebook decided to come up with tagging or untagging, which I think was an
yes.
absolute blessing,
You can
because I
untag
find myself
yourself.
untagging on it most things at the end of the day. I'm like, nope, I look
Yeah,
like a dog. I untag, thank you. And things like that, and filters,
yeah,
and we've all been there. We've all done it. There's no one that can deny that they've not tweaked and put a little filter on here, and
yeah,
and I think one of the things I think I know, Sage, I said to you, like when Snapchat was first out with the dog filters and the cat filters and everything,
yeah.
and
No,
I
I
remember saying
remember
to you,
that.
you remember what I said to you? I said it's a bit worrying when I think I look better as a dog than I do.
I look better as a dog. I know. Those filters were overused, if we're being
It's a
honest.
little worrying.
We overused them damn filters. Okay. I don't know how they even phased out,
Oh my goodness, just
but they did.
absolutely crazy.
Mm,
But I think that the one thing that has always been a consistent thing has been having you and having friends that can get you through those
yeah,
wobbles that you have with
yeah,
body image, especially as we said earlier with social
yeah,
media, where you just can't escape it. You just can't
yeah.
escape it.
No, you can't
It's
escape it. It's there,
mm,
and eh, I think it's a double-edged sword with social
mm,
media now. I think you can find your people. I think we talked about this
yes,
in the second podcast that we did, or the first one. Social media is good. You can find your people, you can
mm,
find your
mm,
corner.
mm,
You can always find someone who finds what you find funny, and you can find people with
mm,
like-minded or people with the same experience as you, kind of similar. But
yes,
also on the other spectrum is what it shows is not reality either. So
mm,
it's a double-edged sword, really. It can connect you and it can totally give you the wrong
mm,
picture image of what things, or warped images of what things
yes.
really should be like or look like. So yeah, it's a tough thing with social media.
Yeah,
Tough.
no, for sure,
Mm,
for sure.
mm,
And you definitely need people that real people and real
yeah,
life
yeah,
and real genuine connections around you, which again can be found online as well as it can be, in person. But you need people that are legitimately in your corner,
mm,
that are there to support you and cheerlead you through,
for
and to kind
sure.
of help you understand that, the social media world isn't real, and that
Yeah,
actually, these are the things that we love about you, and this is the things that I love about you, and
yeah,
that's the things to kind of, how you see yourself might not be how others actually see you. Others will
yeah,
always see you in a way where they want to uplift you. The good people, anyway, will
yeah,
always want to uplift you, and I think that's a really important thing. If any of our listeners out there can relate to that as well, definitely,
mm,
comment and let us know. Has that been,
yeah,
has body image been something that you guys have struggled with? Is it something you
yeah.
continue to struggle with? Do you have supportive networks and outlets and people around you?
Mm.
And if you don't, you have us, the awkward
Yeah.
besties. We're
Yes, you
here.
have us, the awkward besties. So
We're
leave us
here.
a comment and let us know.
Yes.
This was quite a vulnerable conversation, to be
Yeah.
honest, and I think we've just scratched the surface with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, Els, but I feel like we've scratched the surface because it's so sensitive and so deep,
Mm, mm,
that it would take a proper, longer conversation to kind of dig
mm,
deep,
mm.
have a deep dive on it. But you know what? As we said on our awkward besties, we have highs, we have lows,
Yes.
and we talk about everything and everything and anything in
Yes.
between. So
Yeah.
we thought we might see if this conversation is something that you can relate, and if you do, we
Mm,
can have a longer conversation about this,
yes.
just to show how we kind of have supported each other through it,
Mm,
and how we continue, because it's a continuing struggle for both of
yes.
us,
For
and how
sure.
we still continue to kind of instill that confidence um, to each other
Mm.
as we navigate this life.
Our way through life. Swimming our way through life.
Like Nemo.
Always like Nemo. There's always some reference to Finding Nemo
Just
somewhere.
keep
Yeah,
swimming.
keep swimming.
Yep. Anyway, thank you guys for watching
Thank
and
you
listening
guys.
again. Don't forget to like,
Subscribe,
and leave your
comment,
comments, and
all
we'll
the
see you
things.
on the next video podcast.
See you soon.
Bye.